So here now, Congressman Peter King, member of the Homeland Security and Intelligence Committees. Congressman, always good to see you. Let me ask you off the top here, your thoughts on the new FBI pick. If indeed he goes with Lieberman, is that going to get through, as John Cornyn says?
I would certainly hope so. Joe Lieberman, to me, is a true patriot. There's nobody in politics or government that I've ever had more respect for than Joe Lieberman. He is a good friend, but more than that, he's a great American and a man of total integrity, strong as can be, and totally independent. I mean, I said Joe Lieberman is a good friend. I wouldn't even think or suggest of suggesting to him anything that was at all improper. This guy is as honest as can be and just a great person. So
we definitely need somebody who's going to put faith back in institutions in this country, which has been a major problem that we've been facing. Now, I know you have talked about the appointment of a special counsel, that you think it's troubling and that it opens a can of worms here that we may be dealing with for a long time. Tell me about that.
You know, first let me say, if there has to be a special counsel, I think Bob Mueller is a great choice. I think he'll do an excellent job. No, but the whole idea of a special counsel, to me, is people say, oh, it's great, he's independent, he's not responsible to anyone. Well, in a democratic society, you have to be responsible. And to give that kind of really unprecedented power to one person can be very dangerous. I think if you go back to Lawrence Walsh in the Iran-Contra investigation, I think even Ken Starr in the Whitewater investigation, there's so many innocent people along the way who get hurt by this. These investigations, they start off on one issue and they go off. Take the Scooter Libby investigation. The special prosecutor in that case, he found out really within the first few weeks who would leak the information.
I mean, some of these folks, you know, seem to have something to prove, right? They don't want to come up empty-handed. They feel like they've got to find something. Do you think Robert Mueller falls into that category, though? I mean, he's been around a long time. He probably doesn't want this thing to go on for 4 or 6 years. He probably wants to handle it in a year or two, I would imagine, at the very most.
Yeah, that's why I think Mueller is a great choice. Bob Mueller, first of all, he has great integrity. When I was on the Intelligence Committee and he was head of the FBI, everyone trusted his word. Nobody ever questioned, you know, he wasn't telling us the truth. No, I think he'll do an excellent job. So it's that if you have to have a general counsel, Bob Mueller is the best one you could have.
All right, I want to ask you about this video that surfaced today, because it's getting a lot of attention, and some people think that the way that James Comey answered this question early in May in front of a congressional panel raises some doubts as to whether or not the president was putting any pressure on him about the investigation into him. And I want to be very clear, the way that this questioner, Congresswoman Hirano, appears to be focused more on the Clinton investigation, but he answers the question in a fairly general way. So with that setup, let's listen to it. I want to get your thoughts.
Sure.
So if the Attorney General or senior officials at the Department of Justice opposes a specific investigation, can they halt that FBI investigation?
In theory, yes.
Has it happened?
Not in my experience, because it would be a big deal to tell the FBI to stop doing something that without an appropriate purpose. I mean, oftentimes they give us opinions that we don't see a case there, and so you ought to stop investing resources in it. But I'm talking about a situation where we were told to stop something for a political reason. That would be a very big deal. It's not happened in my experience.
It's not happened in my experience, he says. What do you think?
I think that, in many ways, raises very real questions about even any attempt by the president to try to influence Jim Comey as far as the investigation. Now, also you have Andy McCabe, who was the acting director, who was Comey's deputy director. He apparently had no knowledge of this either, because he was asked, has anyone tried to interfere with the Russia investigation? He's absolutely not. So to me, if this was so important to Jim Comey at the time, if he thought that he was being pressured by the President of the United States enough to write a memo, you would have thought he would have told somebody at the FBI. He had an obligation to report to the Justice Department, and when he was questioned at the May 3rd instance, he certainly wouldn't have said it's unprecedented. It's never happened, you know, that he was asked to tone down an investigation for political purposes.
Yeah,
so, no, I have real doubts about that whole memo.
It's very interesting, and the memo that he wrote, that meeting happened prior to May the 3rd, just to be clear. Although in this instance, he's being asked about the Department of Justice, which is also, you know, answers ultimately to the president as well. So just interesting, because I think you're going to see that again as this conversation goes forward. Peter King, thank you. Always good to talk to you.
Martha, thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you.